When we are kids, we use stories like the Easter Bunny to make sense of things we don't quite understand. It provides a comforting piece of magic. As adults, when that childhood magic fades, we still crave a way to explain the terrifying, random unknown. This map outlines the ultimate adult myth. Connect Florida, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico, and you frame a 500,000 square mile stretch of the Western Atlantic known as the Bermuda Triangle. The modern obsession usually starts with this moment. In December 1945, 5 military planes, known as Flight 19, flew out over this water with 14 crewmen aboard. They vanished without leaving a single piece of wreckage behind. Then there are the maritime logs. Records detail over 1,600 vessels discovered drifting through these specific waters in perfect condition, with entirely empty decks. Not a single crew member left aboard. Looking at that raw concentration of missing aircraft and perfectly buoyant ghost ships, the math seems to point towards something impossible occurring in the water. But if you pull the forensic data from these tragedies, a very different picture emerges. The actual danger hidden in this region has nothing to do with curses. It is the violent collision between human psychology and an unforgiving natural environment. For over 7 decades, people have repeated the idea that the squadron of Flight 19 was swallowed by the sea or pulled from the sky by an unseen force. The naval transcripts tell a highly specific, mechanical story. The commander's compasses failed simultaneously, completely stripping away his spatial awareness in the middle of the open ocean. This animated flight map highlights the true cause of the disaster: confirmation bias. The commander stubbornly convinced himself he was flying over the Florida Keys and needed to turn east to get home. The data shows he was much further north, meaning every mile flown east took his squadron deeper into the Atlantic. Heavy atmospheric winds battered the planes. Wind vectors illustrate how a weather system dragged their path further from any coastline. Eventually, the fuel gauges hit zero. 27 men, including the crew of a search plane sent after them, were forced to ditch their aircraft into the pitch-black ocean. A training flight encountered a common navigational problem, but a stubborn human error turned a mistake you could survive into a tragedy that left no survivors. That explains the planes in the sky, but we still have to account for 1,600 perfectly seaworthy ships drifting through the currents, totally abandoned by their crews. The Atlantic surface is highly volatile. Scientific buoys routinely record oceanic anomalies called rogue waves. These massive walls of water can suddenly crest at over 90 feet high, attacking vessels from unpredictable angles. The physical force of a rogue wave is staggering. It remains the leading scientific theory behind the disappearance of the USS Cyclops, a massive iron freighter that likely had its spine cleanly snapped in half by a single catastrophic wave. But you do not need a rogue wave to empty a ship. When a crew faces severe, prolonged weather, their brains undergo what neurologists call an amygdala hijack. The brain's fear center completely overrides a sailor's professional training and logical reasoning. In a state of pure panic, humans stop making rational choices. They look at a sturdy, floating vessel taking on a manageable amount of water, and their hijacked brain convinces them to abandon ship and jump into a lethal ocean. Once in the water, dehydration sets in immediately. A desperate sailor will eventually drink the ocean water, which rapidly destroys the kidneys and triggers vivid, intense neurological hallucinations. Those exhaustion-induced hallucinations have been documented here since the very beginning. Even Christopher Columbus reported seeing strange, magical lights dancing in the sky during his voyage. He was sleep-deprived and staring at the faint, distant campfires of the native Taino people on a hillside. Today, we don't have to rely on handwritten journals to gauge danger. We have millions of data points tracking commercial operations straight through this region. The ultimate judge of oceanic danger isn't a storyteller. It's the insurance actuaries pricing maritime risk, companies that would lose billions of dollars if this water were genuinely hazardous. This chart compares global maritime insurance premiums. Insuring a ship in the Bermuda Triangle matches rates for the Pacific and Indian Oceans. And factoring in daily traffic, ships don't sink here more frequently than anywhere else. In fact, the name Bermuda Triangle isn't a nautical term at all. It was invented in the 1960s by a writer for a pulp fiction magazine. Society latched onto that fictional name immediately. The human brain is hardwired to seek out patterns, especially when confronted with random, senseless tragedies that we can't easily explain. Believing in alien portals or a cursed ocean is just a psychological defense mechanism. It's an adult version of a childhood myth. We invent monsters to avoid a colder reality, that nature is completely indifferent to us, and the human mind is profoundly fragile.